Damn, that was so good.
I like that.
We never get it that good.
For real, though.
But,
Happy.
But yeah, man, what you been up to?
Dude, it's been a lot lately. Been out in the mountain, been doing so many things, meeting a lot of cool people out there, too. It's like, you meet into people on the mountain, it's like a whole different vibe. We know we're like getting after it, having fun.
Up in Telluride?
Yeah.
Yeah, you were telling me you did the little cave excursion the other day, huh?
I did do a little cave excursion. It's like unique. Yeah, you don't think it would be like there on resort, and there it is. Just pop in. You got to know where you're going, though. Get through the trees and then see that cave, bop in. It was really cool. There was a wheelbarrow, an ancient wheelbarrow, all rusted up, nice and old, antiquity.
Antiquity.
Yes.
Can you spell antiquity?
I cannot.
I
No.
can't either. I kind of want to try, but I'm not going. Antiquity. Can you use it in a sentence?
Antiquity, something you would find in a cave.
So I heard it was like 300 feet in. Is that true?
I mean, yeah, you dive in, you get into the cave, and it's like you have to go a distance for sure. And it's like I had the lights out for a little portion because I was like wanting to feel it, that cave atmosphere. It was cool. I was like diving in, but you go like deep. I don't know about that, but you go pretty far. Far.
I feel like that's kind of a trip, man. I'm a little claustrophobic. I saw somebody's footage of it before. I've never been in there, but when I saw it, I was like, oh my Lord. I could just see myself like trying to like crawl backwards really fast. Like I'm like crawling in, I'm like, let
me get out.
Yeah. Well, that sounds really fun. I haven't been skiing yet this year. But I'm feeling like I'm getting a little inspired. I was putting my board together for a buddy, and it felt really cool to be like twisting some screws and getting the bindings all set up again, getting that like perfect like centeredness on the board, and kind of made me want to ride again. So I gotta get out.
Yeah, man, that sounds like the calling is speaking to you.
Yeah, dude. So there's been a lot of interesting stuff going on in the news. We had the inauguration.
Oh yeah,
what a wild ride. Seemed like there was like this big pressure bubble leading up to it. It doesn't matter who you like or who you didn't like or whatever. Everybody's just like anticipating like this like change, and it was kind of exhausting leading up to it. And then I actually watched the inauguration and stuff this time. It was like it was a pretty big event. I don't know if you watched any of it, but dude, just like the fucking the stadium, I was like, oh my god, like the whole parade was in the stadium. So like all the marching bands and stuff were like walking on the floor of the stadium, which was actually kind of a cool way to watch a marching band, because usually they're like taking off down the street, they're like and you're just like waving as they go by, but this was like a loop that they would do, and I was like, dude, this is amazing. So yeah, that happened. Our entire country is just like under new management now, which everybody's talking about. Some people are happy, some people are sad, some people are just smoking doobies. And I recommend it, just let things fall into place and maybe turn the news off. I think, I've had a couple conversations with friends, and I'm like, maybe you just need to like give it a couple weeks off, instead of like paying attention so closely every day. And it's like, don't drive yourself crazy out there. In other words, it's a wild ride. But anyways, thank you guys for joining us on Break The Cypher. We've had such a nice little holiday break. We hope you have too. And yeah, we're kind of back in the studio seeing what is going on out there in the cannabis world today. We have a few heady lines that we've picked out. There was more going on than I knew about. And so, we're going to dive right in. I don't know where we should start.
Well, there's a lot of surprising stuff that's come up. I'm not going to lie. It's
Yeah.
a new year. There's a lot going on with that. There's things that are shaking up, things that we're following back up on, things that we want to see where it goes, what's happening. So let's break it off.
Well, I mean, before we do, I did find this really cool thing on the Good News Network. Yeah. And I want our listeners to know about it because there's a reward. Oh, wait, an award. Reward? Award. I don't know. Anyways, we'll pull up a clip, but it's an Indian governor is offering $1 million to anyone who can decipher or break the cipher on this like crazy looking like stone etching. There's like some shapes, some symbols. I believe a unicorn, but that is subjective. And we'll pull it up on there. But yeah, check out the Good News Network. There is $1 million being offered if you can tell them what this is saying. It looks like kind of like hieroglyphics. And so, let's start there.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah. I mean, I want a reward. If I can break that cipher, get $1 million.
I know. What would you do?
It.
What would you do with the $1 million?
What would I do? Oh man, I would be. I'd find a little cozy cabin out nestled in the woods. Go skiing. I've really adapted to the skiing lifestyle. I'll tell you what. I want a cabin in the woods. It's awesome. But other than that, I would. I mean, breaking the cipher is one thing. I feel like I'm in the Da Vinci Code. I feel like I'm, in one of those old movies trying to like figure out the, cipher that's going to break into it that I can get into the final little cave and get the reward. So
I know. I kind of, looking at it, I'm like, surely I can figure out what they were getting at, But so far I'm at like unicorn, diamond, triangle, and I'm gonna see how I do.
yeah,
it's hard, but I'm gonna stare at it. Maybe smoke a doobie and see what happens. $1 million.
yeah.
Why not?
You could hit the lotto.
I don't even know if many people know about it, but if you don't look at the news on the Good News Network, you might not have heard about it. But so yeah. But anyways, busting into the cannabis side of things, there is a lot of exciting stuff going on. And there was something that I found really interesting. It actually made me feel a lot better. And it has to do with cannabis business debt. It's crazy. I'm always getting like hard on myself because it's like, it always seems like we're, there's so much debt. It's so hard to get caught up. The cannabis industry, in Colorado right now is depreciating year after year. And it will likely happen in these other states too, where it's like, right now everything is like really expensive. If you're in Massachusetts, you're in New York, you're in Illinois, Ohio, it's likely that the cost of cannabis is kind of high. Maybe it's even cheaper to buy it on the black market, which I hear a lot from people. They're like, well, I'm not going to shop at a store. I could just get it on the black market. And that's what those states are competing with right now. They are literally competing with the black market prices. And so until that supply level comes up and the prices come down, it's hard to shop there. And then, once that supply level goes up, everybody starts competing a little bit more, which makes it harder to pay your bills, harder to pay your debts. But the thing I found interesting is that here's what it says. It says as much as $3 billion in debt will come due for major U.S. cannabis operators. And that's in 2026.
Oh, man.
$3 billion.
Come on. That's nuts.
Yeah. I'm like always like thinking in the 100,000s and stuff. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it would be so nice. We're so close to being out of debt. We were never really like well funded. I like to say we're as homegrown as you can make one of these fucking businesses.
It's a grassroots organization.
Yeah. But yeah, just looking at a couple of these things, it's like, this one company like Curaleaf Holdings, they have $460 million coming due December of 2026. Isn't that nuts?
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a huge loan, especially just for one business to take under, and it's coming due. So you have to pay that up, or else, we'll cover it. But auction, who knows?
Yeah, who knows? I mean, and that's not the only company. I mean, there's like 5 listed here. There's another one listed somewhere else. And I know that these companies, they brought in a lot of money. Cannabis was the golden goose. But wherever they opened up, it's probably getting cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. And that's going to just continue. That trend is going to, as businesses are competing for customers, they're going to compete on price and quality. Some places are going to be like, whoa, our stuff's more expensive because it's better. And what they're going to find out is the customer is going to be like, well, I like the not so better stuff, and it's like half the price.
They're picky.
Yeah, and it's like, everyone is pretty hard up for cash these days.
Yeah.
It's like expensive to go grocery shopping. It's expensive to fill your car up with gas. It is. It's expensive to heat your house. And so I get it. It's like if you could spend $30 on weed instead of 60, you're probably going to.
Right. That's the obvious solution is like, well, if this price is cheaper, I'll do it. Mm-hmm. And that's the problem that comes in is like the margin between that quantity, that quality, that price point, that it's all in the balance swinging together where you have to triangulate that to be able to get the customer to be consistent, to want to shop with you continually, but also give the highest quality product that you can.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so some of these companies that took on all this debt, that's coming due in 2026, when we're talking about 400 million, 300 million, the Cannabis Colorado, or the Cannabis Company, formerly known as Columbia Care, 185 million coming due in February of 2026. 185 million. And I can tell you that is going to be an uphill battle. I don't even know what the interest rate would be on that. You're usually, if you get a loan in the cannabis industry, they're taking like 10% plus, 8%, 7% maybe, but 7% on $185 million is like, get ready.
Uphill battle that you can't even really fight against.
Yeah, and it's a lot of money. And it's a lot of money, like, I think that, where that money came from, who it came from, if it's from publicly traded companies, it involves, other, citizens' money getting wrapped up to, like, certain things become kind of important around that. We've been talking about the rescheduling of cannabis, which... in our previous episode, we're talking about how the DEA was stalling. They didn't show up to the meeting with the things that they were supposed to show up to. There was talk about how they were being corrupt in who they were talking to and what they were talking to them about. And I got to tell you, it continued. The DEA astonished the judge. The judge was astonished, and the hearings have been since canceled indefinitely, is all we know. And we got $3 billion in loans coming due next year as an industry, and that's kind of scary,
extremely scary. Wow,
yeah,
that is unreal. To be honest, like that they're going to be able to push that out with all these debts coming due. Mm-hmm. You have to pay them up.
Yeah. I mean, here, Air Wellness is their debt was supposed to come due in 2024, but they were already able to manage an extension and to negotiate an extension into 2026. And theirs is, they owe $358 million. And the price of weed's going down. Like there's like kind of like a depression looming in the cannabis industry where, we're learning that like it's not the golden goose. We shouldn't be taxing the industry so hard that businesses are shutting down. They can't make money. They can't pay their bills. They can't pay these debts. So you can see what's kind of going to happen here. And I don't think these companies, I don't know. I would be surprised if they came up with the money. I saw a lot of businesses in Colorado and I was jealous of them, right? I really was, because some businesses, it seemed like, could get money and some businesses couldn't. And the businesses that got money, they put it into like really expensive greenhouses, beautiful, made guys like me like drool, like, oh, like we're like getting twigs and sticks out of the forest to see if we can put a greenhouse up. And then there's these beautiful greenhouses going up, 10 million, 20 million, 3 million, $30 million projects. And it was like, damn, dude, like, how come we can't get that kind of money? Anyways, long story short, like those companies, they over leveraged. Yeah. They basically got to a point where it's like, if we sell all of our crop because of the price of weed falling, they wouldn't even be able to come up with their loan payment. Like right now in Colorado, like pounds are being sold for like $400 or $500 a pound. And the government takes $150 a pound on that. That's just like, how are you supposed to like come up with all this money? And furthermore, it's like, oh, well, you got the retail sale, you can make money off it, but that's all attached to 280E, which we've also talked about. So with 280E, you can't write off your retail expenses. You can't write off your retail staff, your marketing, anything like that. And so right now we have 280E also serving as an implication here, where these companies who borrowed this money may not be able to pay it back, and our government is kind of like, when it comes to stalling on the rescheduling, and now it's like, indefinitely, like they don't know when the next hearing is going to be. And that hearing affects 280E, right? And 280E makes the cannabis industry nearly impossible. I mean, if you're following the rules of 280E, you really shouldn't be seeing much money. It's designed to take all of the money from an illegal drug trafficker. And so they even talk about it in here. It's an article in MJ Biz Daily. I recommend looking at it, especially if you've been investing in cannabis industry, in the hundreds of millions, especially. Like, I would reconsider that for a minute, and I would also get really interested in the government getting back on track with this whole rescheduling thing, because once it's rescheduled, banking takes off. Financial industry opens up, 280E kind of goes away. And just as an example, like if you got 10 people working for you in your retail shop, and the shop lease itself is like $10,000 a month, and you got 10 people working there, you're looking at like $25,000-$30,000 a month that's not deductible. And that's not including like, advertising and all that shit. You can't write that off. The IRS is like, oh, no, you can't do that. And I don't really like that, because, nobody's like been found guilty of trafficking an illegal substance. They're just kind of like saying, oh, you have to file it this way, which violates the Fifth Amendment, right? Like you have a right not to incriminate yourself as a U.S. citizen. So anyway, I thought that was really interesting, and I was really glad that we don't have that kind of debt. Like I don't have millions of dollars in debt, and it's real easy running any type of business to just feel like, worked and overworked and underpaid, and like you got so long to go, and I'm just like, God damn, I'm so glad I don't owe $400 million. I'll tell you that much. That would suck. But yeah, let's this rescheduling thing, though, I think that is like so fascinating. You called it out when you're like, it sounds like they're stalling on purpose. Yeah. And it turns out, like, I think you were right. Like they were stalling, and they basically stalled all the way to the point where it is now canceled, and nobody really knows what's going on. But yeah, everyone's kind of under the impression that the DEA dropped the ball. They've corrupted the hearing. You have like a huge portion of the country just waiting for this to be rescheduled. They've called for it to be rescheduled. Even Trump said he supports, rescheduling and figuring out the banking stuff. And he also supported the amendment in Florida to the Constitution allowing it. And so hopefully we see some movement out of the new administration when it comes to cannabis. Because really, if we reschedule it and we can open up banks and let the normal financial world in, that's all we really need. Like, we don't need to be wrongfully taxed as a cartel, especially since they are now labeling the cartel as like a terrorist organization. Did you see that? I'm like, oh God.
Oh, they're going after him now. Yeah, you better watch out. No, they're actually stepping things up, as they said they would. So it's to be expected. But no, this whole thing is wild. What was the title of this particular article that you were reading? Because I know you said it was related to rescheduling.
Yeah, this one is marijuana rescheduling process paused indefinitely after judge cancels hearing. And that has to do with the DEA's actions. Really, some notes on the article is marijuana rescheduling judge blasts the DEA for unprecedented, astonishing behavior. Like, the judge is talking about the Drug Enforcement Agency, and they dropped the ball. They didn't do what they were supposed to do. And unprecedented and astonishing behavior is how he would define what happened with the DEA right there.
Oh my Lord.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of makes you think, what are they smoking?
Yeah. Honestly, yeah. What are they smoking?
What are they smoking? Nuts. And so anyways, I really think that this needs to be taken seriously, obviously. Number one, it needs to be rescheduled. It is not. It does have medicinal value. It isn't super dangerous or highly addictive. And I really like some of these like politicians, and you see this stuff come across the news, and it's like, I don't really feel like they understand what's like going on in the real world of weed. And I hear about it all the time. People are like, oh, I just like smoke it anywhere, or oh, you could take it on an airplane. They don't care at the airport. Nobody fucking. And I'm like, really? I'm super paranoid about that. But yeah, people are just doing whatever they want to do. They see weed as this thing that's not that big of a deal. As a matter of fact, like a huge topic about weed, this is kind of controversial. And I'm not trying to promote youth use of marijuana, but guess what? Go pick out a movie that's rated R that looks like it has kids in it or something, and guess what's happening? They're smoking weed. It's been happening like for generations, actually. You got Dazed and Confused, Fast Times at Ridgemont High. I was you throw on like Outer Banks or something, like those kids just graduated high school, they're smoking joints all the goddamn time. You know what I mean? And it's like, if you guys care so much, let's start looking at like some of this other stuff. There was this other movie, I forget what it was called, but it was about high school, and it was like kids doing ketamine, kids doing this, kids doing that. And it's like, wait a second. Like, I get it here. Like, I get that. Like, we don't want that kind of shit going on. But when it comes to like marijuana and like the industry, like nobody wants to be selling stuff to kids. We really do got to look at like some of our entertainment and stuff like that if we really care about it, because there's a lot going on out there. Like, I can't tell you how many times in a movie they're showing kids smoking weed. And so I guess that brings me back to like, the real world and how people view weed on the ground. It's like,
I was just going to say that, man. It's like the real world is like you're having a beer, you're sneaking a beer. And the real world is also like you're having a joint, like you're smoking out with your friends. Like, it's just the reality of what it is. And the fact that it's permeated even pop culture in that way is it's pretty important to be able to kind of put them on equal playing fields is what I meant to say. Because that's the thing is they're like very equivalent, and the way that they're being taxed, the way that they're seen from a regulatory standpoint is not equal. And that's what we have to kind of get past. And we've been trying to get past for many, many years now. So I hope, I mean, this stalling is not very like optimistic of like, okay, you know, there's a light at the end of the tunnel, but there is like now more of a spotlight on the fact that they are stalling. And so why are they stalling? Like, let's get past this. Mm-hmm. That's what I'm hopeful for.
Yeah, and why are they stalling about something that most people relatively give two shits about, including the cops? Like, I remember being a kid, like, if you got caught, like, smoking weed or something, they weren't, like, cuffing you and throwing you in the car. You know, it was kind of like, I mean, everybody knows that.
Yeah.
Like, you've been next to somebody at a concert smoking a joint. It's, like, a lot different than if they were, like, shooting heroin. Am I right? I mean, like, shit, you know, and like, this is how the world is. Like, marijuana is not really seen as this big bad wolf. And when it comes to rescheduling, it seems like common sense. And the fact that we're stalling over it and people are still getting in trouble for it and businesses are being taxed as illegal drug cartels and financial firms are risking $3 billion right now not being paid back in a year. It's like our government needs to get off their thumbs, show up to these hearings, and go about this the right way. Like, people's lives are on the line. We're paying for people to like sit in jail right now because of marijuana offenses, which many of us completely disagree with. One person who disagrees with this is actually Elizabeth Warren.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I saw this thing, you know, Warren, she wrote a letter. Elizabeth Warren.
Wow.
Wrote a letter to Elon Musk.
Never guessed.
I write letters to Elon Musk too.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, it's coded though. So I don't know if he reads it. I hope he does, but it's in a cipher.
It's in a cipher. I mean, he might read it more then, huh?
I'm like, break the cipher. So it's an instruction, like, break the cipher, Elon. But yeah, she sent a letter to Elon Musk concerning Doge, right? Yeah. Department of Government Efficiency, as many of us know. And she said that they should be cutting measures that lead to marijuana businesses being raided, marijuana offenses being pursued on a federal level. And I thought it was kind of interesting because, you know, I feel like there's either a podcast or there's some footage, and, you know, Elon's definitely gotten down on some weed. He talks about it. Maybe it was on Joe Rogan or something like that. And it doesn't surprise me, you know, like, in my opinion, weed's not that big of a deal. It's like everybody needs that kind of reality check. It's not like you think it is. But yeah, she's calling for the federal government to stop spending money on marijuana seizures and raids in states where regulated cannabis markets have been established. And I was like, well, okay, well, we agree on something.
Wow.
You know,
I would not have expected that. That's coming from left field, Elizabeth Warren.
Mm-hmm.
Well, writing to Elon, making sure. So she's writing to Elon in effect because of his involvement with the Doge program?
Yeah. Doge, it says here, Doge should recommend that the U.S. Departments of Justice and Homeland Security conserve resources by deprioritizing costly arrests and other enforcement actions targeting marijuana activity, at least where the activity is legal in the jurisdictions where it occurred. And I couldn't agree more. You know, like, it is not that important when there are other things going on that our tax dollars should be going to. I feel like we've proven that. I feel like reefer madness didn't happen. Cannabis industry has been on for like 15 years, 16 years now. And everybody's just fine. Everybody's just fine. They're doing less of their pharmaceutical medications, less drinking. You know, it's pretty cool. Matter of fact, I've been drinking NA beers. And
Oh.
yeah, I would encourage anybody to try this. I've played a little trick on my brain. And you can take an NA beer, right? Little puff of weed. My brain has no idea. No idea. I feel like I'm drinking regular beer.
I'm breaking the cipher with
Breaking
that
this,
one.
break the cipher.
Okay.
And so, yeah, like I agree. I hope Elon responds to her. I think that's practical. I think it's common sense. I think it would save some money.
Yeah.
And I think that hopefully this administration is all about that. Oh, here it says, yeah, Musk once made news by smoking cannabis during an interview with influential podcaster Joe Rogan. Joe and I are great friends. But the billionaire has not involved himself in marijuana reform efforts. I think that Elon would get down with that.
Yeah, I mean, it's he's already like exemplified himself on Joe Rogan, taking a little puff ski. So I mean, it is what it is. Like people get down and have a little bit of smoke here and there, and it's not a problem. So if Elon Musk, who's managing the most things in the world right now, can do it, like everyone else should be able to get down with it. And it's only a further point proven towards legalization. So, I mean, Elizabeth Warren writing to him, trying to exemplify that, I mean, that's kind of interesting, to be honest. I would have never thought she would be coming up in that regard.
I'm thinking that maybe the rest of us should also write a letter. I think that that's what the Department of Government Efficiency is doing and I don't think it would be taken in the wrong way. I think they might be like, oh, that is a good idea, because maybe they're getting real. Like, hopefully they're getting real, It's just that, like, I feel like cannabis has been sold to us as such like a bad thing. Yeah. And for it to be like, next to some really harmful substances on the scheduling list, and to make such a big deal about it politically, when in Hollywood it is just A-OK all the time. My whole life, like, smoke at a reefer, it's just fine. It's a joke, right? It's just a joke. Oh yeah, we're just like, but that happens because people who smoke weed know that it's not that big of a deal. When I was growing up, my mom caught me smoking weed, like a lot of us, right?
Oh yeah.
Did a lot of your moms catch you smoking weed? Me too. I used to wrap mine up in like incense, so it actually tasted like patchouli. Ugh. But I wasn't trying to get it to taste like patchouli. It was just I was trying to hide it from my mom. Anyways, she found it. She likes the smell of patchouli, it turns out. It wasn't patchouli in there. I feel like at that point in my life, a lot of my friends were drinkers in high school. I know, that's mind-blowing. Kids drink in high school. Unheard of, right? No. I was not a drinker. And I kind of got the gist that while my mom wasn't all right with catching me smoking weed, I think there was a general, like, she was happy I wasn't drinking and that I wasn't a drinker, And so, I don't know. That's just like my whole life. And so when I see it like blowing up in the news, it's this like big, intense thing. It's like, we just need to take a step back and like realize like the general population doesn't see it as a big deal. That's why it's like all over the place. The point is that we need it to be off the streets. We don't want it to be funneling money to actual drug cartels, right? We want it to be tested for certain things and, impurities and whatnot, so that it's safe to consume. And so it needs to get off the street, and really like stalling the rescheduling is a risk to public health and safety, because everybody's using it anyways. Like, that's what's going on out there. We can't walk down an alley and Telluride without smelling weed. Oh, yeah. And that was before the weed industry. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so get real, get it rescheduled, stop horsing around, make your DEA agents smoke weed so they know what they're dealing with. Not a big deal. Not a big deal. Okay, moving along here. I found this one really interesting. It is a group that's getting together to lobby for marijuana in Colorado specifically. When I read this article, I was like, damn, like these guys are talking about a lot of things that we are bringing up. And I'm stoked to hear it. The name of the organization is Colorado Leads. They are going to be focusing on improving the industry with the government. And so it sounds like, reducing some of the regulations that are kind of like, some of them are crazy. Like every marijuana plant that we have has to have a radio frequency ID tag on it. It's like, I don't know that there's roots, okay? The plant grows roots and it's like kind of locked in. It doesn't get up and run away, so we don't need to track the plant. It doesn't move. We put it in the soil. It stays there. I guess maybe they're worried about plants leaving the garden, but it's like the garden is the place that the plants want to be in. You know what I mean? It's not, we don't want to take them to like the pantry. So, but yeah, each plant radio frequency ID tag, and every plant is tracked from seed to sale with radio frequency ID tags, transferring to new packages transferred to stores. And so it's like VIN numbers for vehicle parts. And it's like imagine if they did that for cigarettes. Like, holy fuck.
What? Every part of the process they want to have tracked and calculated and numerified and be able to see where it is at all times? What are you talking about?
Yeah.
It's in the garden. It's growing. It needs to have a radio frequency ID. That is absurd. That is crazy.
Yeah. It's a little like overkill. And so they want to reduce some of the regulations. Like they bring up like, we don't make liquor stores track every ounce of alcohol that they sell, or bars. Liquor stores don't have mandatory cameras, nor do bars. And so they really want to do what the voters set out to do in Colorado, which was regulate cannabis like alcohol. That was the whole campaign around Amendment 64, which they haven't done. They've like, you can buy it like alcohol, but it is not regulated like alcohol. Like there are real strict regulations. It's almost like like Minority Report, like they're trying to stop crime before it happens. But it's like, we're actually not a bunch of criminals. We're actually trying to run legitimate businesses. And if you wanted to run an illegitimate business, you could do that with a taco truck.
You definitely could. I mean, I've seen it in Telluride.
Yeah, you could do it. You could you could start a laundromat and run it as an illegitimate business. In fact, it would be easy to do because laundromats aren't tracked. Car washes aren't tracked. Like how many ounces of soap did you actually use today?
You can't.
Yeah. And just like everybody wants like public health and public safety and all that stuff. I went to the grocery store the other day. I bought a pre-made sandwich, and it comes with some lettuce and tomato. The lettuce and tomato had gone bad. So I want to talk about public health and safety. Like, we are sold shit all the time. All the time. We're sold fast food. We're sold cigarettes. We're sold alcohol. Like, I really don't want to talk about how the government cares about our health. They don't care about our health. Like, I really don't believe that that's the case. Like, they're sitting up there. If they did, like, America's leading cause of death wouldn't be heart disease. Like obesity, like big gulps wouldn't be sold. Like those are extremely unhealthy for you, and they're all over the media. They're all over the news. They're all, like I can't watch a football game without seeing 3 Taco Bell commercials.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
It's plastered all over the place, man. It's incentivized.
What the hell? And we care about your health. You're full of shit. Anyways, the next thing they're doing is they're trying to reduce the taxes. That's awesome. Cannabis businesses have an immense amount of pressure on them with taxes, so much so that they can't stay in business. And it seems like it gets harder and harder. And then they increase licensing fees or they add a new tax in. And it's like, it was already too hard. And we're already doing a great job of having prices at the right spot so that Colorado's industry isn't competing with the black market, much like New York's or Illinois' or Ohio's right now because their prices are high. You know, the prices are relative at the store. Like, we need to be able to sell it at a certain price. Otherwise, the customer can get it on the black market. That's the truth. But there's very little black market left in Colorado now. That's pretty cool. So,
That is cool, man.
that is Colorado Leads. That's the name of the organization. You can look them up. Maybe you want to get involved. Maybe you want to check them out. But I'm glad that there's an organization that's kind of stepping up to help change some of this stuff, because it sometimes feels like we're in a competition to see who can hold their breath the longest in this industry. And I would really, really appreciate it if that went away, because some of us have been doing this for, over a decade, and, it's not cool when we make these regulations and tax requirements and we don't take into consideration like the cash flow of these actual businesses and the income of the owners actually, not what you believe it to be. Now you see like headlines in the news like, they did $80 million, and it's like, it doesn't matter if it cost them $79,999,000 to do it.
Oh, yeah.
It's
all about the headlines.
Constantly feeling enslaved by the government here. And so Colorado Leads, look them up, get behind them. We're going to follow them for sure. And I think it's good. I think it's appropriate. We need a lobbying group, and especially if the federal government is going to make a move, which they should, because it's getting old. But I don't know. I feel like that's kind of that kind of gave me a little bit of hope, at least,
Yeah, no, it's pretty cool to see that someone's stepping up for the industry and for Colorado as a state, because there has been like an injustice and an imbalance for such a long time that there needs to be a spotlight pointed on it to show, look, this imbalance has been taking place. Like, let's equal the playing field. Let's get things right. So I'm here for it, man. That's cool. Colorado Leads. Shout out.
Colorado. Yeah. I mean, I'm really happy that Colorado was on the forefront and willing to do it. I do have this thing though, where it's like, I think other states should realize, when it came to getting the legislation passed, we were almost willing to sign up for anything. None of it sounded bad, but it is a honey trap, because it's at the end of the day, you're sending almost all of your margin to the government. You can't afford to pay the IRS on 280E. It's not there. It's money that it got spent. You could be like, here's my profit and loss that went here. So it's not like laying around. You could actually take the tax liability out of it and give it to the IRS. The only way you can actually do that is if you're doing something illegitimate, which is, it baffles me when there's like huge chains, because it's all attached to retail. 280E. It's retail expenses, the actual expenses that are associated to selling marijuana are not deductible. So bud tenders and sales associates and retail rent and marketing, all that stuff, non-deductible, can't write it off. And so then you hear about companies that have 50 retail locations, 1,000 employees. It's nuts. How are you doing that?
Well, they're backed by loans that are about to go default.
That's true.
So that's where it comes full circle. It's they have had this injection of cash and infusion where they could have the best facilities, the best retail spaces, whatever. But at the end of the day, at the end of that loan term coming up is you got to pay due. And if you don't have the money, then what happens? There's going to be a large divvy based on what's coming due in these next year or two. It's quite staggering to see. So we'll see how that impact plays. 280E, man. It's a large part of the industry that maybe those who initially invested didn't foresee, and now it's coming due. And these capital returns are not coming to fruition. So It's going to be an interesting playing field to see how it all levels out at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, I just don't understand. It's like, if you have, like, I mean, I'm looking at, like, this other article. We kind of talked about this a while ago. It was the thing with Ease and Green Dragon and all that stuff. And they got, like, whatever, all this retail space. They got 40, 50 dispensaries, and there was a big falling out with Ease, and now it's kind of come back together with a cash infusion. And so, the Ease group got, like, kind of foreclosed on, basically. And then it sounds like they got $10 million, and they rebranded as a new company, and they put that into opening their stores back up and hiring their people. And that's really cool. But when I read it, and I'm like, damn, like 40, 50 shops, 1,100 employees, none of which are deductible. How is that possible? How is it possible? And I think you're right. I think it comes from, like, large cash infusions, where it's like those large cash infusions are just buying time, where it's like, maybe they are paying the IRS under 280E. I mean, really, if you are able to pay the IRS under 280E, it means, like, it basically means you have money that you said you spent,
Yeah.
It doesn't fucking make sense. And so it's like, if you got a huge cash infusion and, like, you can pay, it's like, how long is that going to last? Especially since, like, the government's kind of dragging their feet on it. But yeah, 70 Ease and Green Dragon locations across California, Colorado, Florida, and Michigan. And they got $10 million to get it back up and running, which for 70 locations and 1,000 employees doesn't sound like very much money. It sounds like, maybe 1/4 of a year worth of expenses. And so it's like, I don't know how that works. And I wish everybody the best and stuff. And I wish that the IRS would change their stance on 280E and not treat us like criminals and treat us like states that started their own legal industries. That would be appropriate. But yeah, until then, it just, like, baffles me when I look at these, like, amounts of money, like the amount of money and the amount of stores and employees. Is because, like, we got 2 stores, so I can't write off 2 places for retail rent, and I can't write off 6 employees, and that's a lot of extra.
I believe it.
Yeah, we can't pay it. I feel like that's the thing. Like, we'll play the game and report it how the IRS wants us to report it, but that doesn't mean that the money is laying around. The money was actually spent on rent. And so it's like, the tax liability on that money is also not available because the state pretty much takes it all in taxes. And so catch-22.
It is. It is the biggest catch-22 that there is. And it makes things inoperable. Even if you are injecting millions and millions of dollars, all it does is it afford a runway for things, but they're eventually going to run out, because that's what happens when you have a runway of capital that's not catching up to the investment that you put into it and the returns that you need to pay off those loans with interest. You're only going to go so far. It's going to catch up to you.
Yeah. And you know what? The shame of it is that people shouldn't have to worry about that.
Yeah.
The investors shouldn't have to worry about that. It is, like, widely socially acceptable in the movies, in the TV, in real life, people want weed. Like, I don't know why we're making such a big deal about it. So hopefully we see some changes here. Hopefully the new administration comes in. Hopefully Elon Musk gets back to Elizabeth Warren. I'm really interested to see that. I think I'm gonna write him a letter.
Yeah. Do it,
Elizabeth Warren did it, so can I.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, I think that change is on the horizon. If you're heavily invested in the cannabis industry, I hope for your sake it is. And you should pay attention too if you are, I'm sure you are, if you invested $400 million into a cannabis business and all this shit's going on, like, you should definitely be a little upset at the DEA and the IRS as well, because they're jeopardizing you and your right to the American dream. Really.
Oh yeah, man! Big shareholders, small shareholders alike, we're all susceptible to this system that's unfair. To be blatantly honest, it's unfair. So we're here, we're reporting, man. We're gonna be on the ground, finding the news, giving it to you straight up, no filter.
No filter. It's all about life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, my friend.
Yes, sir.
That's what we all deserve. That's what we should have. That's what the cannabis industry should have as well. And so I feel like this is an easy thing to resolve here. And so let's not overcomplicate it. It's a plant. People like smoking it. People like eating it. People have reasons to consume it medically or recreationally. I just don't really like that, it's like the government seems to just be like telling us how to live and what's right and wrong all the damn time. And really what I would like them to do is to run the damn country and bring us to prosperity. Don't tax us into prosperity. Don't tax your citizens into prosperity through their income, the businesses. No, let's figure out another way, and just, lighten up a little bit. It's not that hard to say you were wrong about cannabis. Just say it. just do it. You were wrong about cannabis. So we got 50 years of you being wrong about it, Mr. Government Man. And so let's get over it. Let's make it happen. Let's get the rescheduling done. Open up the banks. Stop risking everybody's lives. It's easy enough. So I don't got anything else. I feel like this was a really great kickstart out of the holiday hole. Oh, yeah. I feel like I'm still crawling out of the holiday hole, getting back on track, getting the routine going.
Oh yeah, it's a new year. New things are happening every day. It seems like every week. So
every day. We're
gonna follow it. We're gonna make sure you're getting the latest. And that's what we're here for, man. I love chasing that new, what's happening. It's cool because it's evolving. It's changing. There's nothing that's set in stone. Mm-hmm. Whether it be your day-to-day routine, whether it be what's happening at such a high level, things are always going to keep reverberating, shifting, changing. So I'm following it. I'm staying happy. I'm staying positive. I'm here for all the new that's going to happen.
Hell yeah. Well, guys, thanks for listening. Give us a like. Follow us on social media. We're on X, Insta, Facebook. We're on YouTube, Apple, Spotify. Follow us. Subscribe. Hang out with us. You can check out our website. It is breakthecypher.com. If you want to support us, click that donate now button. We can use all the help we can get. Studio gear, cameras, all sorts of fun stuff. And so if you like the song we're singing, and you want to throw a little Skrilla our way, there's a way to do it. Otherwise, we'll see you back here real soon. This has been Break the Cypher.
Peace.